Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup, just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. Hello, listeners. Today we have a special guest in the Code Story podcast, Patrick Vuong, Director of Product at Moderne. Moderne is the agent tools company, building the knowledge, discovery, and execution tools that AI agents rely on, so they can operate faster, more accurately, and at far lower cost. In today's episode, Patrick is going to tell us all about the company and how Moderne is enabling developers to build software faster, using agents and agent tools with the best context. Their approach to semantic models produces deterministic over probabilistic or inference-driven tools, which for this engineer/host has been a point of skepticism for AI since the beginning. Well, Patrick, thank you for being on the show today. Thanks for being on Code Story.
Looking forward to it.
Really excited to jump into Moderne today, but before we do, tell me and my audience a little bit about you, maybe your path to this point, influences, hobbies, family, things like that, but really whatever you want to tell me.
So maybe let's start with where I'm from. So I'm Canadian, originally born and raised in Toronto, and I went to the University of McMaster in Hamilton, Ontario. There, I essentially went into the program for business, but was looking to find where my passion lies, especially leading to a career. And it's interesting, I ended up finding it through an experiential learning program. So not even through the day-to-day courses. This program was where they select 12 different students, split them into 2 teams, and each week we had a company come in and bring in their real-world business case. And through that, we determined a winner. And then the final piece of it is you actually go to this closing ceremonies where it's almost like a draft, and you find out which company you end up with. And that was where I got my career start at Microsoft. I think the biggest thing that I got from that program was learning how to take customer need or understanding the problem and turning it into an insight. And then starting at Microsoft, because of this program, it's been a huge journey. 8 years there, different countries, from first Microsoft Canada to then going to the headquarters, doing marketing there, then doing go-to-market, doing some revenue, then doing technical product marketing. And throughout this whole career, the common stretch and theme of it has been working with developers, from doing the app dev to dev tooling, and then doing the partnership between Microsoft and GitHub. And Microsoft has really, truly took me around the world, from building flagship demos, keynotes with Microsoft Build and Microsoft Ignite. And then my favorite part was always sitting down and doing the executive briefings where customers would actually fly over to Seattle, meet with us, and the narrative and the product group that I was in charge of was Agentic DevOps, where humans and agents start to work together to reinvent software. But all of that closed 2 weeks ago. I officially joined Moderne and now I'm leading product management.
That's amazing. It's quite an amazing story. It sounds like you have gone all over the world and had some interesting conversations, worked in some, pivotal areas in technology. And I think that's a really interesting segue, actually, into Moderne. So what is Moderne? Tell me and my audience what, the company is and the product suite is.
So similar how I've just gone through a full transformation and same as the industry, Moderne also has gone through a transformation very recently. So I think if we go back and we talk about where we started. So Moderne started focusing on helping customers get their code-based foundations in order. So really focused on tech debt. When we look into tech debt, it's when teams take shortcuts, prioritizing speed, quick fixes for like quality and long-term scalability. And if the code base is not constructed correctly, it makes it harder to maintain, cost more, and to add new features. And I think this is more important than ever, especially in the world of AI. Imagine your agents are working on that code base. And then this solution was actually built on an open source project called Open Rewrite, which is what our founders, Jonathan Snyder and Olga, actually maintain at Moderne. And we actually have a team here at Moderne that we also maintain it. We essentially use Open Rewrite to handle large-scale framework and library migrations. So think about upgrading frameworks, fixing vulnerabilities, cleaning up tech debt to get your code base AI ready. And this is where the change started, Noah. So this is what we were doing for a bit, and we continue to do this now because it's truly, you have to modernize to innovate. It's not like you can go right in, because imagine your agents coming in and it's a complex code base. That's the input. That's going to affect your output. So as the industry continued to change, we were like, okay, we actually can be with you across this journey. And we're seeing how these new frontier organizations get to that next step. So we have grown ourselves where, in addition to preparing your code base for AI, we now actually provide deterministic tooling or help agents become token efficient, or even help agents do factory orchestration. So think about fleets of agents working across the lifecycle. And how we're doing this is we're essentially building tooling for agents. So essentially maximizing how coding agents want to work more effectively, or even helping some of these customers use agents to operate it autonomously with like dark factories where it's fully agent orchestrated and human stays in the loop.
Okay, so that brings up a whole slew of questions for me. But the first one I wanna ask as a baseline, just to keep the audience tuned into the why. So why do agents need tooling?
So I think it comes down to two things. So just as Gen AI gave developers new generations of tools, Moderne gives AI agents the tools they need because of two things: to work accurately and to work efficiently. When we look at these agents, the first piece is that they are essentially building suggestions and the answers are non-deterministic. The second piece is it costs tokens. But when we look at AI and we look at the ROI of it, especially this is why we want equipped tooling for these agents, AI ROI is actually recognized at scale. MIT Sloan actually recently said large-scale AI transformation is just at around 8%. So some of the blockers of why agents need some of these toolings, especially thinking about it at scale, is 3 different walls they hit. One is agents can't maintain around 10,000 repos or that context. So we had to help them with that. Secondly, like I mentioned, was the accuracy piece. It's non-deterministic issues that seem minor in a demo, but they compound at scale. These hallucinations could be catastrophic when you look at it scale. Then the next thing, as we're starting to see with the recent news, we're starting to see token-based billing. Agents are actually burning millions of tokens, rebuilding the context every single time to understand what's happening. And then these aren't just edge cases. We're starting to see these as outcomes. And this is why if you're able to provide deterministic tooling for these agents and also ways where they can receive context and search really quickly, we're able to help across all of those.
Amazing. It's something jumped out at me there when you were describing that. The non-deterministic versus deterministic. You mentioned that you're building tooling for agents that are deterministic. Tell me about why that's important.
How about we start with the foundation of how we built it? So there's two technologies that we actually looked at that took quite a few years to build. One of them is essentially regarding semantic depth. So it's called this lossless semantic tree. And think about it as a compiler accurate model of your code. So not text matching, not AST approximation, it's full type resolution, symbol attribution, and cross-file understanding. So think about it where it's exactly what the compiler sees your code and it is reusable at scale. If we're able to create that kind of clone for your agent, that's like all the context that they would need. And then to take that a little further, so once we have that, it's this thing called a recipe that is built on top of this LST. You know how right now in the industry, having agents work as close as they can to get a really good outcome is like prompt engineering and prompting. Recipes are a little bit different because they're built on the detail of this lossless semantic tree. It's essentially a programmable recipe that can drive deterministic executions. These are programs, they're not prompts, and it essentially allows you to drive a transformation that is deterministic. So thinking about something as complex as migrating Spring Boot 4 safely, repeatably, and you can do it across thousands of repos because it's fully deterministic. It's the agent understanding that, hey, we need to go and migrate Spring Boot 4. Let me look at my LST, then reach for a recipe that can help me make this Spring Boot 4 change versus making suggestions and doing some non-deterministic actions.
Oh, it's so amazing. And the engineer in me is completely geeking out at all of this. And the skeptical part of me towards AI is really excited to hear tooling that is deterministic. As we peer into tech stacks across the industry, where does Moderne fit?
Let's look at the landscape. So one is agents are getting smarter every month, and your SDLC already has processing governance built in. But the SDLC was designed for the human. So when agents are producing changes across hundreds of repos, the pull requests, review queues, manual approvals start to become the bottleneck. It's actually not the code. So now you have two sides of that same problem. Agents are powerful, but lack the structure and context to act safely on enterprise code. And the SDLC has the structure, but wasn't built for the speed and volume of this agent that the agents are creating. So where we see Moderne fit is actually that deterministic harness. So when we think about the harness, we think about deterministic tooling grounded in a semantic model of your code. It helps as like the factor orchestration, essentially the sequence of agents that can be governed in audible workflows. So think about it as agent does the work, the harness makes sure the work actually lands. That's where I see Moderne fits as a deterministic harness.
Super cool. Okay, this is really interesting. And as you know, again, as an engineer and having built software for years now, seeing where this fits is really interesting. And also kind of this new SDLC that's a little more agent driven. This sits really nicely. I'm curious. So you mentioned early on in the conversation that Moderne is sort of shifting paths here. The pivot to where you are now with this. Who are your customers then? Who do you target now?
That's a great question. We actually think we are with customers across this whole journey. So from the ones even before the pivot, where they're getting their code-based foundations in order, so upgrading frameworks, cleaning up tech debt so that their code is AI ready, Moderne still supports you there. Then Moderne supports the customers that now their AI code is ready, where we're supporting customers that are using coding agents and they want to make them more effective. We help you there, especially with some of our products that I can talk about to help agents search better, to get better context. And then finally, we're working with the frontier customers that are thinking about these new organizations of agents and humans where they scale completely. Think about dark factories where agents are fully operating and then bringing human in the loop when it's needed. So essentially, we meet customers wherever they are in their journey, and we help them move forward with Moderne to get to those 3 different stages.
Very cool. Tell me about some of those products that, you said you mentioned you can talk about some of those, some of the things that you're building. Give me a description of those.
Yes. So this is how I like to think about it for agent tooling. So again, just how it has really changed the way developers work. Moderne's trying to change the way AI agents work to make them more accurate, efficient, and productive at scale.
This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Your coding agents have access to your code base. Maybe you even connected other tools via MCPs. But access doesn't mean context. Agents can't reason across MCPs. They don't know your architectural decisions, your team's patterns, or why the API was shaped the way it is. So agents look in the wrong place and deliver bad outputs. Then you spend time correcting. More loops, more tokens. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive .com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since, especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice.
So this is how we're looking at it. 1, how do we help agents search better? We have this product called TriGrep, which gives agents faster ways to search, symbol-aware, precise code search that essentially they're reading fewer files and burning fewer tokens. Then secondly, we help agents with context. Is this product called Prethink, which gives them essentially a pre-computed architectural context and understanding of their code base before they even start. And we started to see some of the results. It's 4 times faster reasoning, 55% fewer tool calls, and then 30% fewer tokens used. Then the other piece is, how do we give them that visibility? It's another product called Changelog, which gives them the awareness of what's already in flight across the portfolio, so they're not duplicating work or sequencing it wrong. And how we're giving these agents all these tools is through MCP. So think about it as your Claude Code, your Copilot, or whichever agent you're using or that the customer is using. Going back to what we were saying, that deterministic harness, we're giving the tools to your agent, whichever agent you're using, through MCP to search better, get better context, and get awareness so that you can essentially execute deterministically.
Again, super, super cool and completely geeking out. Every time you say deterministic, the skepticism, the AI skepticism in me as an engineer really starts to kind of melt away there. So with the tooling you're building for agents, what does the future look like? So about what you offer, where you're going to take this to the next level as you follow the industry as it, with the continued advent of AI, what does the future look like for what you offer and for your team?
I think we're bucketing it in the 3 themes. The first one is continuing to invest in deeper deterministic tooling. So this is how we look at it. The bigger efficiency gains for agents is actually offloading work from inference to fast deterministic tools. So they don't hallucinate, they're cheaper, and they're more auditable. And some of the things that we're thinking about, for example, is expanding trigrep. Remember that search capability to multi-repo search, adding multi-repo recipe execution. So thinking about that scale piece, all callable by agents. We're even working towards like the other side where how we can think about tying this to deployed binaries so you can find vulnerable methods in production and you can fix it from there. So that's one pillar. Again, giving the agents what they need for deterministic tooling. The second one is that other wave I was mentioning where it's humans and agents making this organization. And how we're thinking about it is almost this modern factory that we want to go provide. This is where modernization becomes autonomous. So you set a goal, for example, migrate to Java 25, remediate every CVE, enforce standards, and the factory just runs. So a foreman agent plans the work, a technician agent executes using our deterministic tools, and memory compounds across the fleet so costs fall as the system learns. So almost like self-healing. What recipes don't cover, agents can then handle or create. And we also have a capability where now new recipes can feed back into the next run and agents can write their own recipes, or we can use AI to write these recipes. So the organizations that are always behind in the modernization curve, if they use this factory, they now can stay ahead of it. And then finally, the last pillar we're thinking about is what we were talking about before, which is that agentic ready SDLC. So as agents take on more work, you need visibility and governance, right? What we want to bring to this suite is artifacts that can show your dependency landscape, transcripts that can capture every agent session or audit trail, change logs that can track PRs across repos. Pulling all of this together would create this institutional memory where every agent session essentially will make the next one more effective. And in this economy or this agent economy, I think institutional intelligence is the durable asset.
Yeah, no doubt. We talked about, who the customer is. And I hear you saying, you meet the customer where they are based on, what you used to offer and what you offer now. What about size of customer? Is this targeted? Is this mainly for the enterprise, or can startups use this that are maybe coming into more of a middle size or growing? What is your thought there?
I would say essentially we're for all customers. That open rewrite, open source project, this is where you can go one app at a time. But when it comes to Moderne for enterprises, you're able to do multiple repos all at a time because we're looking at it horizontally. And then when it comes to our new side of agent tooling, as long as there's like an existing code base we essentially improve how agents search, how they get context, And this applies to any type of organization.
That's amazing. That's really good to hear as a startup, because everything is super intriguing. Well, Patrick, let's switch to you for a second. You entering into a new chapter with Moderne, what makes you most excited going from Microsoft to entering the startup world with the company?
There's a few things. One is, I feel as if there's a thread that just goes across your career and your life, and there's things that just stay consistent. And to me, it's always been with the developers, just seeing what they are building and being able to work on the tooling piece of it. It was a really strong connection that I found even when I was looking for post Microsoft, which I found at Moderne with agentic tooling. However, what caught my attention is essentially at Microsoft, I was talking about this concept of agentic DevOps. So thinking about agents across the software lifecycle and how humans and agents work together. Now I get to tell the story of one layer lower, where we're changing the way how agents are working, and we're focusing on helping to see how agents can work with each other and providing tools to change the way they work. And again, back to, I think, Noah, my favorite buzzword now, deterministic. Being able to do that for this new audience, which is agents, is super intriguing to me. And I'm really excited. I think the other piece I see with just my first few weeks at startup, it's really exciting to see the passion as well with the people that you work around. It doesn't feel like work. It's just like-minded people coming together, especially on a category that we're trying to create.
Excellent. I love all of that. And it's a really fun ride you're on. In your journey, who has influenced the way that you work? Let's go a little broader, and Microsoft and Moderne. Tell me about, maybe a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
So Noah, if this was not a podcast and if you saw my camera on, you would see I have some posters here. And I think one person that I look up to, and even what I bring into work, is Kobe Bryant. It's not about just his highlights, but what I really like about Kobe is his obsession for his craft. He does 4 a.m. workouts, the film study, the relentless attention to detail. He's truly a student to the game. All of those characteristics is something that I want to bring to within this agentic tooling or agents world, where how do you be a good listener so that you can find the right customer needs and what the industry is looking for and where it's moving. A deep understanding of the industry. So when it comes to make a decision, it's not just speculation. And then similar, the ability to adapt, just like Kobe, where plays all these different teams, where I'm able to tell a product story to all different types of audiences, from very developer-centric audiences to CEOs to frontline workers, because anyone that uses an agent, they'll start to experience those pieces of what we talked about. And then I think the last part is just the discipline that compounds over time. That's what separates good product work from great product work.
Totally. Love the shout out to Kobe. So last question. You've worked at Microsoft for 8 years and you're now transitioning to Moderne. It's super exciting. You're working on the cutting edge of stuff. I mean, say you were getting on a plane and sitting next to someone who's about to make this same transition. What advice would you give them?
I think the biggest thing I've learned throughout my career is what's better than just shipping individual features is thinking about it as creating a category. And in the world of AI, where features are happening at such a rapid pace, all those features actually bolster that category story that you're telling. So instead of focusing on marketing each of those features, it's what is that story you're driving? And every time you have a new feature, it bolsters it and creates that product truth. It makes that story even stronger.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Well, Patrick, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling your creation story heading into Moderne and all the things that Moderne is building, the right tools for agents. Not only tools, but, again, the buzzword that we both love, the deterministic tools, which are incredibly important when it comes to engineering and to AI in general. And I think the lossless semantic tree is a fantastic and fascinating approach. Building recipes that drive deterministic transformations, Moderne fits nicely into this new SDLC that we're all heading in that's agent-driven. So I really appreciate you walking us through that and giving us your story.
Thank you so much.
As we close out today's episode, it's clear that the future of the SDLC isn't just about adding more AI, it's about adding the right guardrails. In an era of agent-driven development, Moderne provides the essential deterministic harness that ensures our move toward automation remains both powerful and predictable, and proving that a cornerstone of this shift is building the deterministic tools that engineering teams actually need. Thanks for tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about Moderne, go to moderne.ai. That's moderne.ai. And also check the links in the show notes. And thanks again for listening.
Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.